day, everybody. Good morning in the United States. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1354. Today we are going through the Stoics by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, with his meditations, lived in AD 134, so about 2,000 years ago. He was alive, and he was an emperor of Rome, the Holy Roman Empire. I don't think we called it that then, but later on it was called the Holy Roman Empire. They did divide it into two halves. So the Holy Roman Empire lasted all the way up, the eastern half of it lasted all the way up until the Turks came along in the, I think it was 300, 200 years ago, something like that. So Rome was a very big industry, let's put it this way. Nowadays, it's industries and corporations. In those days, it was empires. In any case, this man was a virtuous man, and I am. My moniker is Yin Yang on Facebook and on YouTube. My goal is to inspire you to have a great day, one day at a time, morsels of a thought, a day at a time. Hopefully, we say knowing the right thing to do is a part of wisdom, and doing the right thing is virtue. And so, with morsels of a thought, these all came from a fortune cookie. But I do want to say that with the morsels of a thought, I have hopefully that I'm imparting some little bit of wisdom and that you're inspired to have a great day and to possibly do something of virtue. Little virtues add up to great virtue. And when we create virtue in the world, guess what? We change the whole damn energy field. Ooh, wrong word, but the whole energy field changes, and we can change lives this way. We change lives with a little smile down the street. We change a little life with a little decision that we conserve a little. We don't expend too much extra energy on anything, so we can save the energy we need for something good, something virtuous. And this way we don't waste time. If there's nothing to do, idle hands make mischief, right? So let's go this way. In Book 10 of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, translated by Gregory Hayes, Hays, we will say that whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time. The twining strands of fate wove both of them together, your own existence and the things that happened to you. Now, the ancient Chinese also had a saying, and in modern day Chinese Qigong, I'm going to say that because they are parallel universes. At the time, the Roman Empire was coexisting with the ancient empire in China, and in those days they said "Qing Ming Shuang Xiu." Xing Ming Shuang Xiu is thanks to Dr. Yan Xing of the Yanjing Life Science Tech and Technology. And what it is when you change your character, you actually change your destiny. You are changing your destiny simultaneously to the moment that you are changing your own character. So today, if you have decided you're going to do something virtuous, you've actually changed your own destiny as well. Our DNA strands are actually combined with our destinies. We don't know that. We don't know that for sure because as a layperson, we don't know that, but they have been doing research on chi and the emission of chi. You can actually emit energy from your thoughts, believe it or not, your thoughts. Now, I am not somebody who has an advanced degree in anything, but I do know this. In life, when you change your character, your basic character, you are also changing your destiny. So, therefore, women like me, we do not take what is not ours. Women like me, we do not go and compete with other women to get. I'm a single woman, so by the way. And I'm not saying that to advertise myself. I'm saying that to say that when you come after a woman like me and you're still married to somebody, you're actually messing up your own destiny and you're actually going to mess up my destiny as well. Because if I agree to something and I knowingly get involved with a person who's taken, then I am taking something away. And my energy, as they say, my energy is becoming neutralized into something below good. You see? So that is what I'm going to say. Whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time. The twining strands of fate wove both of them together, your own existence and the things that happen to you. So uh, here, number 6, Marcus Aurelius says, whether it's atoms or nature, the first thing to be said is this: I am a part of a world controlled by nature. Secondly, that I have a relationship with other similar parts. And with that in mind, I have no right as a part to complain about what is assigned me by the whole. WHOLE, because what benefits the whole, the entirety, cannot harm the parts, and the whole, the entirety, does nothing that doesn't benefit it. That's a trait shared by all natures, but the nature of the world is defined by a second characteristic as well. No outside force can compel it to cause itself harm. In other words, any harm comes from within, so be careful. Oh, my fingernails. So, by keeping in mind the whole I form a part of, I'll accept whatever happens. And because of my relationship to other parts, I will do nothing selfish, but aim instead to join them, the other parts, to direct my every action toward what benefits us all and to avoid what doesn't benefit us all. If I do all that, then my life should go smoothly. Man, this man knew something. As you might expect a citizen's life to go, one whose actions serve his fellow citizens and who embraces the community's decree. In Latin, the word cives, cives, meant person. Citizenship means nothing more than personhood. So don't go around telling people, oh, you're not a citizen, I am. Uh-uh. We're all citizens. We are all persons. And that's just my pet peeve. Okay, so then here is another portion. This one takes up the rest of the entire page. Book 10, number 7. The whole, WHOLE, is compounded by nature of individual parts, whose destruction is inevitable. Destruction here meaning transformation. That means we're all going to die. If the process is harmful to the parts and unavoidable, then it's hard to see how the whole can run smoothly with parts of it passing from one state to another, all of them built only to be destroyed in different ways. Hello, Boyan. How are you? Does nature set out to cause its own components harm and make them vulnerable to it? Indeed, predestined to it? Or is it oblivious to what goes on? Neither one's neither one seems very plausible. But suppose we throw out nature and explain these things through inherent properties. I wanted to say internet. Sorry. But suppose we throw out nature and explain these things through inherent properties. It would still be absurd to say that the individual things in the world are inherently prone to change and at the same time be astonished at it or complain on the grounds that it was happening contrary to nature. At, and least of all, when things return to the state from which they came. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, because our elements are either simply dispersed or are subject to a kind of gravitation. the solid portions being pulled toward earth and what is ethereal drawn into the air until they're absorbed into the universal logos, which is subject to periodic conflagrations, fires, or renewed through continual change. Sam knew some things. Wow. And don't imagine either that those elements, the solid ones and the ethereal, are with us from our birth. Their influx took place yesterday or the day before, from the food we ate, the air we breathed. And that's what changes, not the person your mother gave birth to, but if you're inextricably linked to it through your sense of individuality, that's not what we're talking about here. Interesting, huh? Number 8. Now this one takes an entire page all by itself. Epithets for yourself. Upright, modest, straightforward, sane, cooperative, disinterested. Try not to exchange them for others. And if you should forfeit them, set about getting them back. Keep in mind that sanity means understanding things, each individual thing, for what they are, and not losing the thread. And cooperation means accepting what nature assigns you, accepting it willingly. And disinterest means that the intelligence should rise above the movements of the flesh, the rough and the smooth alike. Woo-hoo-hoo. Boy, oh boy, was he ever frolic there. Shit. Excuse me. Should rise above fame, above death, and everything like them. If you maintain your claim to these epithets without caring if others apply them to you or not, in other words, don't care about your reputation, you'll become a new person, living a new life. To keep on being the person that you've been, to keep being mauled and degraded by the life you're living, is to be devoid of sense and much too fond of life. Like those animal fighters at the games, torn half to pieces, covered in blood and gore, and still pleading to be held over till tomorrow, to be bitten and clawed again. Now, right here, I want I'll add it in later. Set sail, then, with this handful of epithets to guide you, and steer a steady course, if you can, like an emigrant to the islands of the blest, BLEST. And if you feel yourself adrift, as if you've lost control, then hope for the best and put in somewhere where you can regain it, or leave life altogether, not in anger, but matter-of-factly, straightforwardly, without arrogance, in the knowledge that you've at least done that much with your life. Without arrogance. And as you try to keep these epithets in mind, it will help you a great deal to keep the gods in mind as well. What they want is not flattery, but for rational things to be like them, for figs to do what figs were meant to do, and dogs, and bees, and people. Now, I remember I never knew my uncle as an adult. I knew him as a very young adult before he died. And what I was told is that he was never afraid of dying early. He knew he would die early, but he was afraid for his youngest son because his youngest son was about 3 or 4 at the time that he was having a first stroke. But what he said, he pronounced himself unafraid to die. He said, no, I'm not afraid to die. I'm just afraid to leave my baby son in danger, in uncertainty. So he was a virtuous man. In fact, about 40 years after he had, 30 years after he had passed, a man spoke of him to his new daughter-in-law. He never met his daughter-in-law because that was way later. And the man said to the daughter-in-law, "Your father-in-law was a gentleman." Now, being a gentleman is not easy. You can be a gentleman, but not really. So he was a gentleman through and through. He was never afraid of death. Number 9, operatics, combat, and confusion, sloth, and servility. Every day they blot out those sacred principles of yours, which you daydream thoughtlessly about or just let slide. Your actions and perceptions need to aim at accomplishing practical ends, at the exercise of thought, at maintaining a confidence founded on understanding, an unobtrusive confidence hidden in plain sight. When will you let yourself enjoy straightforwardness, seriousness, or understanding individual things, their nature and substance, their place in the world, their lifespan, their composition, who can possess them, whose are they to give and to receive? Interesting. Number 10. Spiders are proud of catching flies, men of catching hares, hares, fish in a net, boars, bears, Sarmatians. What are Sarmatians? Criminal psychology. Spiders are proud of catching these things. Number 11. How they all change into one another. Acquire the ability to see that. Apply it constantly. In other words, he's telling you to acquire the ability to see that things change into one another. Apply that ability constantly. Use it to train yourself. Nothing is as conducive to spiritual growth. 11a. He has stripped away his body, and realizing that at some point soon he will have to abandon mankind and leave all this behind, has dedicated himself to serving justice in all he does, and nature in all that happens. What people say or think about him or how they treat him isn't something he worries about. Only those two questions. Is what he's doing now the right thing to be doing? Does he accept and welcome what he's been assigned? He has stripped away all other occupations, all other tasks. He wants only to travel a straight path to God by way of law. We shall pause there in his meditations, and I shall say something else. Knowing the right thing to do is wisdom. We call it that in that one single word these days. And doing the right thing is called virtue. We call it many other things too that are complementary, but virtue is the way to go. If we had absolute virtue in this world, we wouldn't have so many painful things going on. And if we were also not afraid to die, then we would actually be acting with virtue because we would be here understanding that our assignment on earth, we are ethereal beings assigned to this bodily state for on a temporary basis. We're not meant to live here forever. We are meant to do our job, do our duty, complete what we are assigned at birth, and then go on to be transformed into the next state. That is why so many of us have these dreams, and so many people have had these near death experiences. This man, he knew something. This man, he knew a lot. This man, he was probably a sage, and very likely the kind of sage that we call a lot of things, but he was a sage. He had wisdom. He knew these things. He probably had a way to meditate on his own that brought him to a state that some people would have called very close to the South Asian Indian term nirvana. I don't know these things for certain, but I am certain that these people that say these things are far closer to them than I am. And I want to do things of great wisdom. That is my goal in life. I don't care if I die in the process of doing so, if that is how I have been assigned to do my job on this earth. Now, that is not a state that I was easily that I that I easily gained. I will say that there was a time when I had to crawl out of my studio to an elevator because I was having a provoked, uh, some kind of provoked episode because I had accidentally taken too much medicine. And I had taken too much medicine and I had taken it twice because I had forgotten that I had taken it. Never do that. Never do that. That was, I don't know what possessed me to do it, but instead of taking 3 tablets, I took 5. And I thought, well, more of a good thing is probably better, right? Uh, and so I took 5. And then I waited 15 minutes and then I forgot. And then, good morning, Michelle Morgan. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I saw your message. And so I took another 5, which means that in a day when I was supposed to take no more than 3, I had in 1 hour taken 10. So I began to have some kind of a stroke or some kind of an episode, and I was ready to, my brain was going to go unconscious, I could tell. And I crawled to the elevator because I had no sense of balance. You know how when you're dizzy, you actually know where you're in the middle? Well, this time I couldn't tell. I said, I can't tell where the middle is. So I knew I couldn't walk. So I intentionally disrupted my cat food so that the cats would have something to eat. I intentionally checked the toilet seat to make sure that the cover was up so that they could access water while I would be gone. I knew I was going to the hospital, and yeah, it was a holy cow that day. And then I had called 911 on myself, and I think they knew that something was up with chemicals in my body. So they sent a police officer instead. And I said, what are you doing here? I need an ambulance. And they finally got me an ambulance. But I will tell you this, the point being that I knelt there in front of the elevator saying to myself, damn, what if I die this instant? Fuck, my room is a horrible mess. And I was so embarrassed. I don't know if I turned red or not, but I was really, really embarrassed that the state of my room, people would find me dead and they would find that I had not finished and accomplished anything yet that I was proud of. And then, except for the fact that I had made sure my cats wouldn't starve or die of thirst. So I said, goodness, when I get out of this, I'm coming back and straight away dealing with all the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm assigned to this world. I haven't accomplished it yet. I'm in my 50s. Shit. That's what I said. So don't be afraid of death. You're afraid that when they find things, they're all in a disarray and you haven't done what you needed to do. So this man brought me to this morning. I thought that I would say all this because that's what you need to know. The wisest thing is not to live for yourself, but to live for other people, to help mankind, not to do things that are destructive, and not to be selfish, and not to take what is not ours. If you feel like you're going to get a fortune because you won a sweepstakes, forget it. You know how much bad juju there's on that money? Shoot. Every single dollar was spent by a person who wanted it for themselves. So they don't want it for you. So you've got lots of, that's how come so many people with sweepstakes. This is my opinion. The energy field is, yeah, that was intense, but I'm really glad I came through it. I came out of it. They thought I was trying to kill myself and I wasn't. So they gave me 2 days in the hospital and I stayed for 3 more days because they said that I needed to build up my strength. So I did. Okay, so I will see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a rules day, and keep in mind virtue is the way to go. I hope I've inspired you to have a great day and do something great. Okay, old Kinderhead.